I'm Darlene Carman.
And I'm Doug Carman.
And welcome to the show. Syndi Seid is the founder of Advanced Etiquette with offices in China and India. Major corporations worldwide enlist her services to train their employees in business protocol and etiquette. She has appeared on numerous TV shows, including ABC's Good Morning America, and she's here today. Her book, Etiquette in Minutes, is a quick reference on business and social behavior. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
How you doing?
All right. Hi.
Did I shake hands properly?
Well, it just depends on what kind of environment you're in. In business, I don't think the glove handshake is as appropriate.
Oh, I do that all the time. But
Well,
and so it's
of course.
just
If we knew each other really well and you wanted to give that extra love and care with the handshake, but when you to a total stranger, that might be considered a little too overt.
over.
You know? Yeah.
Overdone.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It
you
is.
know, first impressions are so important, and it seems like here people are just way too casual, and it seems to be contagious.
It is.
So if you could have a heart-to-heart talk with them and talk about the image that they're projecting, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I think a person has to really be honest within themselves and start thinking, what is the image I want to project? An image, of course, means how people perceive who you are. So there was a recent Facebook even thing out there about a woman. They did a survey, a college did a survey and posted 12 different pictures of the same young woman. And they had people rate her level of intelligence. And of course, the one that wore a little bit more scantily clothed person didn't do as well as someone that was more professionally looking. You know, so you are how you are perceived by others through your image.
Yes.
So in fact, I have a slide on it that can show you that not one thing, the slide number 2, please, not one thing makes or breaks how you appear to other people, but a combination of 7 aspects of image. So starting from the colors you use, the wardrobe, what you wear, as you can see, your grooming, how well your hair and your makeup and your nails are, your communication styles, both verbal and nonverbal, your protocol and etiquette, such as shaking hands. Then the idea of image objects, the kinds of items that you carry along with you, whether they're all battered, bent up, and beat up. And last of which is your inner image, the idea of how you feel within yourself, because it does show, you know, when people feel insecure or they're not as well, you know, feeling in terms of talking about themselves. So all of those things wrapped up together kind of present who you are in terms of your professional and personal image.
And of course, what you're wearing
Absolutely.
has a lot to do with it.
Oh, absolutely what you're wearing. And
if it's appropriate, right?
that's the key thing.
Yeah.
You know, blue jeans are certainly fine in a backyard barbecue, but then I don't quite think at a wedding.
Yeah.
Well, it's smart to always follow the fashion trends, even though they might look kind of ridiculous or not go against common sense.
Right. Well, that's where I don't really go along with fashion. Fashion trends are things that come and go. But what's important, I think, is to build your own classic look. You have a certain style within yourself. I doubt if you'd be wearing, you know, what the latest fashion is, but then this is a part of who you are and how people will remember who you are. Yeah. So that's really important, and you hit the nail on the head in terms of common sense.
So
I mean,
use
wearing
good
mini
common sense.
yeah.
Yeah, say, no, I'm not going to dress with my baggy pants hanging down below my butt, right?
Right. Or the mini
ridiculous.
skirts or any of that kind
Or
of
her with
thing.
mini skirts.
Right. But then I'm short, so I can't wear longer skirts. That so many women look so great in longer skirts. I do have to wear shorter
Oh, you're
skirts.
petite. Yeah. But you know, I have a feeling that people really just don't do that little thing of looking in the mirror.
That's it.
And turning around.
Yes.
And seeing how they look.
And being honest with themselves.
Oh, that might be hard.
You know, I always think women are the ones that, I used to wear a size 4. No way do I wear a size 4 anymore.
You're
But then,
tiny.
no, but still, I'm a size 8 now, believe it or not. But then when I go to the rack, I would love to pull out, you know, a size 4 or 6. But then once I put it on, it's so tight that actually when you put on the 8 or even the 10, you'll look smaller in it. And it'll be more loose fitting, and it looks so much better on you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you have some slides that kind of cover that, so maybe we can take a look at those.
Okay. That really, you know, is the idea that today I think a person's image, you know, really kind of hinges on a combination of things.
Yeah,
so we can see slide 3. You see a lovely woman who isn't wearing any makeup whatsoever, but the next slide you see here, look at all of a sudden. And if you really look at the next slide that shows the two of them together, you'll see that the woman on the left really versus the woman on the right, she really doesn't have that much more makeup. What has brought out her features and having her looking great is the idea, the colors that she's wearing really brings out who she is. And the idea that overall, the her hair. I think hair really is important.
So I have, off.
Right. Yeah. So the next slide shows just another version. We have a lovely Asian woman, and now with the next slide, you'll see how dramatic a difference she is. Look at that. It's a little bold, I think, with the stripes, but let's take a look at this last slide here in this section, and you'll see the two of them once again, and the difference.
Oh, yes.
Big
difference.
You know, so the whole idea with today's trend, if you want to call it that, in image, is to have a more contemporary look. Yeah. You know, one that will enhance how you appear to others, to being more contemporary versus old-fashioned. You know.
And then I think when you are dressed, you know, a little bit nicer, I think you feel better about yourself. So it's going to come across, and you're going to have more poise and more confidence because you know that you look good.
Yeah. And when people say, "Oh, that outfit really looks good on you," you know, makes you want to sit up taller. Yeah. Absolutely.
Is that in on the slides, or did we?
That's the end of that first section of slides.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, that was very nice. It's the first time I got to see those. Very, very nice.
That's great.
So, in a business situation, have you ever met someone that really comes across great? First impression is super until you get to dinner. And then you discover that the person is really ill-mannered.
I know. I mean, I see this all the time where people will be dressed so appropriately. In fact, I have a quick story about a girlfriend and I went to a singles event when I was single, and we're sitting across the dining table from a man who's so impeccably dressed. However, once when the food came by, you know, I happen to have a knife and fork, and then all of a sudden when the food comes by, he picks up his fork and starts holding it like this, starts sawing away at his meat, you know, and they have names for this. This is called a pitchfork hold, you know, or he holds his knife and fork like Yo-Yo Ma, so you know, you're playing like the cello with Yo-Yo Ma. And then other things, you know, you can put your knife and fork over the plate, you know, kind of like this, and that's called oars over the side, like you're rowing in a boat, you know, and all of these things. So all of these things most likely were taught when a person, you know, the person was a child, right? Because their hands are too small. So mom says, okay, you can hold your fork this way, and then you start cutting. But the mistake that parents make is they don't switch them. By the time they're 8 or so,
they're still doing that.
Yeah, they should be able to hold a fork properly to be able to cut.
But you know, some of the things that I've experienced is even more gross. I mean, you know, like people talking with their mouth full, and we won't even talk about or eating too fast.
Yes.
And you just barely have time. I mean, they're just shoveling it down. I mean, what's with that?
Well, I do have a question about laying the forks over the end of it. Or the knife.
Okay.
You cut your meat.
Right.
Or let's say a piece of pie or something, and the knife and the fork are dirty. And do you want to lay it down on a real clean linen?
Okay. All right,
what do you do with it? You know, I don't want to dirty the linen.
Yours is a quick question, then I'll get back to her question. But the idea is once you use a knife and fork or soiled a piece of flatware, you never have any part of it touch back down on the beautiful white damask tablecloth.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this stems from pre-washing machine days.
Yeah, that's why
so you always leave it, you know, over the edge of the plate.
Okay? Oh, so but you don't.
So you never Nope.
tin it over
Nope,
there.
never tint it, never put it back on onto the table
Okay,
at
so
all.
you just lay it over the whole plate.
Right, right.
Okay.
But getting back to your point about people talking with their mouth full, you know, eating too fast, I mean, that's just because of how they're used to eating. And the whole idea of fine dining is that everyone should eat around the same pace as everyone else. So if you're a real fast eater, I recommend that when you get down to your last 2 bites, you know, here I'm eating and eating, and then I come to my last 2 bites, I always tell people, come to a screeching halt, you know, lift up your head, take a deep breath and look around at everybody else, and if everybody else is in the middle of their meal, you got to put your knife and fork down and wait until which time everyone else is kind of down to their last 2 bites. And then you can
busy
finish.
or start conversation.
Start conversations, have some bread, you know, that's perfectly fine.
I have a friend that does that. I mean, he eats extremely fast.
Right.
And of course, he even, I don't know how he does it, but he's able to keep a conversation going in between bites. But I'm hardly a third done or a quarter done, and he's completely.
I know.
And
So-
I feel so, it makes him, I'm embarrassed. I don't know what to do. I feel very self-conscious because he's cleaned his plate and I'm still trying to
I think
eat.
what's worse is when the waiter takes the plate away. Then, you know, he's almost sitting there kind of looking like this, wondering what's happening, and everybody else says, oh, he's already finished. Maybe I better hurry up.
Yes.
So there
Very
is a delicate
uncomfortable.
balance. For those who are really slow eaters, you know, then at certain point when you see everyone else is finished, you got to make the decision.
Yeah.
Am I going to gobble it up or am I going to forget it?
Well,
So which do you think?
Well, I've tried the horse race, you know, I've just see if I could, you know, keep up with it. I can't. I just can't.
I know, I know. So just don't go to your own dinner party hungry. Have something to eat beforehand.
And what do you do when somebody really does, you know, accidentally, let's hope, you know, the food comes out of their mouth? I mean, I can't help myself. I'm back, and then I find myself going back. How should people react to that? I mean, should you acknowledge it in some way?
It's tough. First of all, did they acknowledge it themselves and saying, oh, please excuse me? Or if they didn't and they were totally oblivious, yeah, I might, you know, I might be inclined to say something if it happened more than once. You know, but once, you know, you kind of let it
Depends
ride.
on how good a friend they are. I will also, you know.
Or you excuse
If
yourself.
close to the friend, I might be more willing to say something, especially in private.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
But if it's a business situation,
on
I
me.
imagine you could excuse yourself, maybe to have to go wash your hands or whatever,
I know.
then maybe you would possibly come back and be seated somewhere
I
else.
know. It's a delicate thing, for sure.
Yeah. So let's see. I thought you had a question for her, but
Well, he started to kind of allude to it. You know, the idea of cutting your food and.
Yes, well, tell us about some of the subjects your seminar covers, you know, on entertaining and dining. Yeah, because
I'd love to hear that.
that's really what we wanted to talk about, because
thanks.
you understand you put on some fabulous seminars that
They're
are
lots
very
of
helpful.
fun. I mean, table manners are something that everyone enjoys. Whether they grumble about it or whatever, they really want to be in the know. So all of our seminars on dining from age around 8 on up are great. So we do youth, teens, adults. We have one seminar that's called Successful Entertaining and Formal Dining, where you sit through a full 9-course European-style dinner using finger bowls and fish knives, fish bowls, and all of that, and learning proper seating arrangements, when to start eating, how to be a good host or a guest through
Well, that
a meal.
would be very important for somebody that's, especially that's in a corporation that's going to be confronted with meeting dignitaries and that, you know, maybe they're advancing in their career.
Absolutely.
And they all of a sudden find themselves at a much higher level of entertaining and dining and that they've never been accustomed to. And so they really need somebody like Syndi to help them get started and actually make a good impression, because in a business, that's important.
You
That's
know,
really
I
important.
appreciate that, and it is very critical when you get to that level. But really, I think this is just a basic skill that everyone should learn. you know, and it should start when you're a child and move on up, because table manners to me really shows your level of education. You know, think about it. You could be the richest person in the world or the most educated person in the world, but then when you don't display good table manners, it shows, right?
Well,
and the opposite holds true. You could be the poorest person, you could be the least educated person, but if you can sit through a dining table with good manners and appropriate behavior, that elevates you.
Now, you have a workbook too, don't you?
Yes.
That goes along with it?
Yes, actually, all of our seminars go by a Chinese saying that says, "What I hear, I forget." So I never want stuff going in one ear and out the other. But what I see, I remember. So much of it is supported by PowerPoint presentations, as well as what I call a comprehensive action guide, I call them, instead of workbooks or anything like that. And in our full day seminars, they come in a full binder just like this with almost 100 pages. And in the dining section especially, we have a number of drawings that show, you know, how to eat soup properly without spilling, you know, all the right ways or the wrong ways of holding your knife and fork. So it's a fully illustrated guide, a step-by-step guide of how to dine. So,
well, what's the difference between the American style dining and the European style dining? And why is it you tend to prefer the European style?
Okay. Well, bring out your knives and forks that I brought for you. First of all, I want to see, how do you dine on a regular basis or use your knife and fork?
Well,
So
I was
Doug,
taught
demonstrate how you do it.
was to cut my meat, put my knife down, and then eat. And I still do that.
Okay.
I occasionally, if I'm in a hurry, I'll do it like this.
Oh, okay.
Do it like this. But
That's cool.
it's just that I was raised that way.
So the basic difference is the first way you demonstrated is called the American zigzag, you might say. So it is more customary that a person holds the fork in the right hand, and when they want to cut something, they'll switch the fork to the left, cut one or two bites, put the knife back down, switch the fork, and continue eating. Perfectly fine. You know, this is a style that Americans have done since, say around the after Christopher Columbus hopped off the boat. However, by the 1700s in Europe, there was a style that developed called the European, now becoming the global form of dining, where you keep the fork in the left, keep the knife in the right, and you only cut and eat, cut and eat. So you keep the fork turned down at all times. So no matter what you're eating, you're balancing the rice, the peas, the mashed potatoes.
Peas?
Oh yeah,
Peas?
You can stab the peas though. But you can get some mashed potatoes, push it on there, and then scoop
push
some
them all
peas.
together.
You got it? That's fine. That's fine.
You gotta eat mashed potatoes like this.
Well, the whole idea though, actually, kids love it. After they get a hang of it, I can eat more, I can eat faster. But this has become the global form of dining, because as of the 1800s, when Europe was the world dominating power, think about it, the British went to Asia, the French went to Southeast Asia, Germans went to Asia as well, Portuguese, Spanish went to South America and conquered that part of the world. So when they brought knives and forks to those countries, the only way the people ever learned how to eat was this way. So the whole American style is kind of a non-entity, you know, in any other country.
Not like this.
So you prefer the European style because it's more popular? It's customary, or
it's popular, it's customary, and it is the accepted style of eating in all other countries except the U.S.
Oh, wow.
And maybe a little part of Canada, and maybe a little part of Mexico.
So it's still unique just to the U.S.
Absolutely,
then, really?
Absolutely. And seriously, as we are now going global, and we're adopting all the best practices of the world, so we don't have to think, okay, I'm in the U.S., I got to do this, I'm in Japan, I got to do that. We're wrapping everything up into one default international business protocol style.
Which makes sense.
It does. So if we all shake hands the same way, we'll use our knives and forks the same way, you know, so it makes it a lot easier.
I don't think they teach us in school. I don't ever remember learning anything about dining habits or dining for the proper way
Actually,
to.
I learned
even how to set your silverware. Yeah, all that would come through the family. So that puts a lot of children.
There was an era of that. I grew up in the era where they still had home ec classes, home economics classes, and I learned how to set a table in those classes, but they don't even have those classes anymore. So, yeah.
Well, I grew up in where they had home economics, but boys didn't take home ec. We took wood shop.
Right. That's true,
the girls took home ec.
Yeah, that's
Darn, they missed out.
So then the girls come out with fine table manners, and the boys come out as kluts. Right?
Well, that's where you were supposed to be taught at home, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, is there any other basic, besides how you hold your knife and a fork, is there anything else basic that just really cries out and says, this is European style, this is American style, the versus?
Okay.
Anything else?
In terms of dining?
Yes.
Okay, it's the style that in Europe, globally, you keep both hands on top of the table at all times. You never keep hands underneath the table stemming back from, who knows, you could be having, a weapon under there, ready to stab or shoot somebody.
I never did
You could be holding hands with somebody's sweetheart,
Or
you don't want to, you don't want to do any of that. So the whole idea, proper dining dictates that you have both hands on top of the table at all times throughout the entire meal.
I didn't know that. Did you know
But you don't have your elbows.
No elbows. No elbows on the table. Absolutely. So that's a big difference.
Oh, I didn't know.
But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I would say the rest is pretty well the same. The idea of no talking with your mouth full, making noise when you're eating, those are pretty standard.
Pretty basic.
Yeah.
Well, I do remember we had to go to a formal dine. She won an award, and I noticed that they served the salad at the last.
Ah, right.
And I'm so used to having the salad up front.
Exactly.
And I asked them, well, how come the salads come in the last after we've eaten everything? And they said that's the European or French style. Somebody mentioned that at the table.
And the reason is that historically dressings were made of oil and vinegar, right?
Yes.
There are very few wines that go along with, vinegar. So I always say to people at UC Davis, if they could find a course on viticulture and make wine, that goes well with vinegar, that'd be great. But partly it's that reason that you've had all the wines throughout your meal. You want to use a salad with the oil and vinegar as a palate cleanser to set up your taste buds for the beautiful sweet desserts at the end.
Oh, for the dessert.
Right, so it really is meant at the end of a meal to cleanse your palate from all the heavy sauces.
Well, that makes sense
and
because this was held at a winery, a very large winery.
Sure, yeah. But that's one of the
We're getting a little bit short of time, so I would like to cover things like, how about the top 3 areas that people really need to work on improvement? Your top 3 you want to tell people today.
Absolutely. There's so many,
about
but
5
the top
minutes.
3. Okay, real quick. I would love for people to start saying more pleases and thank yous. Wouldn't we be living in a better world if people did? I mean, just even between husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, instead of give me this and give me that, or get that for me, how about the please, or thank you very much? Just those 2 words, I think, would create a more gentle...
Especially in the family. I like the way you pointed that out. I mean, in the business, no problem, or company manners, but in the family, I really can relate to that. It's so important, and that's where a lot of the manners just go out the door.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
The second one, getting a little bit more serious, is the idea of people staying within their commitments. People nowadays will say things, oh, let's get together for lunch. You never hear from them. Or they'll say it several times, and they don't do it. Or they borrow things from friends and never return them.
Or never even acknowledge.
Or promise to give somebody, or say, I'll get that report to you next week. And next week comes and goes, and you don't even acknowledge it to your boss that you're going to be late or whatever. So again, honoring commitments and the pledges that you make, I think is so critical, along with the idea of even being on time. One of my biggest pet peeves. Okay, I'll see you at 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
and the person's constantly late. One of my biggest. Okay, the last one, what was I going to... Oh, last one real quickly. How about thank you notes?
Yes.
You know, it is not old-fashioned. I don't care if we're trying to save trees, you know, but still handwritten with that 49-cent stamp sent by regular mail says volumes about how much you care about the other
yeah,
person.
because so much we're so used now to the email that I think a lot of people have forgotten about the nice handwritten note.
Exactly.
And that's really nice to receive. When you get it, well, you get something over the email. Oh, okay, I got another email. You get a nice note and you open it up in the mail. It's like opening up a little gift.
You're right.
Yeah,
Exactly
I do appreciate when
gift.
we do get a hand
And
note.
it doesn't have to be fancy or long. I've gotten thank you notes from a friend that just had one sentence. Thank you so much for the whatever. I really loved it. You know,
It's nice. But now, in your book, you do mention one thing. It's kind of, you know, off the left field there.
Yeah.
But you're talking about tailgating. And you actually mentioned that it's rude. Not only dangerous, but it's rude. I really like that, but I never thought of it being rude. I mean, annoying and all that, but it's actually rude. I like that.
well, absolutely. I mean, we all have a perception of space within ourselves and within different cultures and societies. But then, as you said, not only is it dangerous, primarily that,
Yes.
but it is rude because you're invading somebody else's space
Ah, that's true.
when you're
That's
getting
true.
too close.
Well, yeah, and I'd mentioned we talked about that earlier. She wanted to bring it up, and I said, "Yeah, I really don't like anybody on my. Yeah, it really bothers me."
Actually,
does.
about a
driving.
month ago, a man had a very fancy sports car, and his top was down because it was a gorgeous day. And then I was in this lane, he was in this lane. He literally waved to the guy behind him, you know, back off, back
Oh, this
off.
is so exciting. I really want to hear more, but our time is up. And if you think we covered it all, we didn't. We have a lot more to cover. So tune into the next segment, and it'll be slanted a little bit more for young adults. However, courtesy and good manners are for everybody. Thanks for watching the show, and please watch again.